Me, 22F, and my boyfriend, 23M, have sex once every 1 or 2 months. Me, 22F, and my boyfriend, 23M, of 4.4 years, of which 3.4 we live together, have sex once every 1 or 2 months, and I want more intimacy. I have found this being an issue already from the start of our relationship. We started having sex after 6 months of dating. We both are the first sexual partners for each other. Therefore, we have not had any experience before. We have had other relationships though. It is extremely strange to me that we do not have sex on a regular basis, and it is exhausting to be the initiator most of the times. I do not feel wanted and attractive intimately, and it has led me to a low self-esteem. We have had many discussions about this issue, especially at the beginning of our relationship, and I have explained to him why it is so hurtful to me that he is not passionate. He tells me that he just does not want or is too tired, but finds me attractive anyways. He masturbates multiple times a week, as he has told me, which I am okay with, since I masturbate myself almost every day, and rarely asks me to help them out. If he does, I am totally cool about it. We have tried a lot of role plays and other toys. I have tried a lot of sexy lingerie in which I feel extremely attractive myself. But everything seems awkward and just not passionate, so I do not really try anymore. And I am not being pushy about this issue towards him. I perhaps used it 2 years ago, but I realized my mistake, or put pressure on him. But it does feel hurtful to me, and I am trying to deal with it by myself and have not mentioned it to him for a long time. It bothers me a lot on daily basis though. I do not think I am unattractive. I also would not say I am super attractive, and do take care of myself, which my boyfriend has pointed out is a good thing many times himself. We both go to gym regularly and eat healthy. The only thing I can imagine being wrong is my skin issue on my whole body. And, honestly, it is something I have been afraid to ask him about, because it is a big insecurity of mine and also what has stopped me of being intimate during my previous relationships. Although, whenever I have asked him if there is something that bothers him, he has never mentioned my skin condition or anything else. Perhaps trying not to be mean. I do have a low self-confidence which I have dealt with even before we met, but I try not to show it during sex. Another point to mention is that when we do have sex, my boyfriend finishes early, and for me it is harder to finish, because I feel him not being passionate, although he seems to be trying. Anyways, it is not the issue, since I just want to feel needed. Other than our intimate life, my boyfriend is a really affectionate partner, cuddles me all the time, and I feel extremely loved, but I also want to feel sexy and attractive. At this point I just want to know others' opinion on this matter, and if there is more I can try, or I just should deal with it. I for sure do not plan to break up with him because of this intimacy issue, because I generally feel really happy in my relationship. But I just feel like we are too young for having this issue, and it seems weird to me that I have to seek for sexual attention somewhere else. TLDR / me, 22F, and my boyfriend, 23M, have sex once every 1 or 2 months, and I want more. My boyfriend not wanting me sexually lowers my self-esteem and makes me feel unattractive. Seems like I cannot find what the issue is and how to live with this situation. Please help. Hi, I recognize myself in your situation. My GF and I, had a similar issue. At one point more than a year ago, I found her to be generally uninterested in sex, and she barely ever initiated, to the point that I considered us to be in a dead bedroom, only having sex once every month or fewer. First of all, I don't like the people jumping to conclusions like saying he might be gay or that you should break up. That's not something strangers can assess. What I will say is that I advise against dealing with it, It's likely that this situation will continue to bother you, and you might grow resentful because of that. After that, communication breaks down and ultimately the relationship is finished. I get the idea that you want to stay with this man, so you'll have to find a solution. One question I would ask is he aware of this? Of how rarely you are having sex? When I brought it up, my GF did believe me even though I was sure I was right. Maybe him having low sex drive made him unaware that there's a problem in the first place. Could it be because he has some issues of his own? Insecurities, mental illness, medication? You perhaps talked to him about these already, but perhaps there are things he hasn't opened up about yet. In any case, there is an incompatibility between the two of you. I won't say that is an automatic relationship ender. That depends on your wishes and boundaries. But I suspect you will ultimately have to meet in the middle. He needs to work on giving you the attention you need, and you may need to be aware of his reasons why he's unable some of the time. One piece of advice I can give you is, go to a couples therapist, try to find one you both feel good about, and they could help you ask the right questions, and help him understand your problem as well as look for a solution. If you want to save this relationship before it's too late, I say don't postpone this. It might be difficult because of COVID right now, but many therapists offer Skype Zoom sessions as well. I would say, try to open up the conversation about therapy. If he's committed to the relationship, he should be open to it and should be willing to put in the work. Relationships aren't to be taken for granted. Good luck. Edit. P.S. Older people who suffered from the aftermath of your situation might be inclined to say, you're still young, get out while you can. You're too young to be having these problems. I don't agree. Everyone can have relationship issues. Let's turn that argument on its head. You're still young, so you have time, and the only chance you'll get to fix it before you become a resentful person in a few years wishing you could have done things differently. Now is actually the time to do so. I hope your boyfriend is receptive to working on the issues so you can eventually have a fulfilling relationship. Perhaps ask him specifically if he could pleasure you, like a night all about you, sexy time, role plays. Try any kinks you are into. Then, next week, you return the favor. Give it another week, and both of you come up with what you did and didn't enjoy. What you feel needs work, etc. There can be as many or as little things on this list as you want. Then discuss the contents of each list. Then, next time you have sex, you can both make an effort to please each other. Just a suggestion though, do what you feel is best. My husband and I had sexual intimacy issues for 5 years. We couldn't resolve it ourselves. It took, no joke, about 2 counseling sessions to fix this issue between us. Sometimes one can become so wrapped up in their own issues, they need an objective opinion to sort through it. Different answer here, but I think you should agree a time of the week where you schedule sex, intimacy. The thing about sex is that it feeds into itself. The more you have, the more you want. A tip for married couples who have lost touch is to pick a day and say, that's sex day. We will make an effort to have sex. It's effective and both parties are into it. This helps get around the common problem. When you ask for sex, you feel like you're being pressuring, and he has to feel sexy at that point in time. Scheduling it means, hey, we're in a loving relationship. We both want sex to be part of that because it's important to us. Get yourself in the right mindset that we can blow each other's minds when it comes around. Maybe you guys could both commit to not masturbating and only using each other when the time comes for sex. Thinking face. Person shrugging. It doesn't sound as if you and your boyfriend are sexually compatible. You can ask him if he'd be willing to commit to stop masturbating and watching porn and see if that helps. Bottom line, big differences in libido like this tend to eventually wreck a relationship. One partner feels undesirable and unwanted and the other feels pestered and pressured. Our low libido community may help you find a way to see your boyfriend's pop, while our dead bedrooms may help him to see yours. Does your boyfriend watch porn? I might be way off, but a porn masturbation addiction would definitely explain this. Not many people here are considering masturbation as an issue, and it's surprising to me, because it tells us a couple of things. He does not have a low libido. It's contributing, likely very greatly, to his premature ejaculation. He's not taking OP's needs and desires seriously at all. So I don't know. Masturbation isn't usually a problem in relationships. But we shouldn't confuse us being sex positive with giving a free pass to his inconsiderateness towards OP in these regards. I always like to imagine what I'd do in those situations. If my GF asked me for more sex than I'd otherwise be up to, you'd bet your ass I would stop masturbating. And this guy isn't that, for some reason. And there likely is a reason. Don't get me wrong. But if he's not actively attempting to communicate whenever the issue comes up, after OP has repeatedly tried, then I think it's fair to say this guy is being pretty inconsiderate. And this should warrant OP to take a big picture look at her relationship and ask herself whether she wants to spend the rest of her life with a partner who seems more interested in porn than in her. You need sex therapy. You need to work this out in therapy together. Since you live together, it will work. Hang in there. Your POV is totally valid and all too relatable. What you need is more information which a sex therapist will be able to gather and give. You say you do not want to end things. Okay, I get that. But in 5 years, nothing has changed and now you feel resentment, anger. Your self-confidence is completely gone and now you're depressed. It's easy to say, I won't be like that, but it's inevitable. We're all human and all have needs. It'll come to a point that kissing and cuddling will stop and just being roommates. You are so young to be having these issues. Go on the dead bedroom sub. Trust me, you'll want the heads up. I am sorry you are going through this, but if nothing changes and you stay with him for the rest of your life, with marriage and or kids, this is your life. This will be your life. You've been with him a long time. I was in a 7.5-year relationship from 22 to 30 years old. I adored him, but we weren't sexually compatible like you two. We would have sex once a week in the end. I didn't see it at the time, but we had grown apart. The relationship ended because he met someone else. I think that will always be the case with you too, because the sex isn't good, like you say you're experiencing. I've had a few partners since, and now at 32, I've finally found someone I'm sexually and mentally compatible, and it's amazing. There are other people out there. Surprised no one has mentioned this yet, but he might be on the asexual spectrum, possibly without being aware of it yet himself, which could explain his reply of just not wanting sex. If that's the case, this has absolutely nothing to do with you. Regardless of the source of this, though, it seems to be a big problem for you, so you need to address it with him, and if you can't reach a compromise that works for both of you, may need to break up due to simply not being compatible, which would be no one's fault. It sounds like you have fundamentally different sex drives, and that may not change. It may also be cyclical, or due to another issue, vitamins, hormones, depression, whatever. I'm going to offer my anecdotal experience, which may or may not apply to you. And I recognize this and I feel this situation in my bones. My now husband and I have been together for 11-ish years. And over that time there have been periods with an insanely hot, frequent sex life, and periods when I was devastated by his lack of interest in sex. There have been a few periods like that, starting around when I was 22 to 23. He was 26 to 27. And most recently, I guess in the past year or two. I say, I guess because, well, that first period, after we had been dating for about 2 years and I was terrified the honeymoon period was over and everything would end with this person I loved, stands out very clearly in my mind. It occupied a huge amount of mental space. More recently, however, and the longer we have been together, the less those periods bother me, because the more I can see them as a phase of sorts that will shift or end or change. There have also been times when I have been way less interested in sex and deferred him more often than not. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, yeah, differing sex drive sucks. It's hard. It doesn't feel good. And if pretty much everything else feels good in the relationship, it may not be the end of the world. A lot of people talk about how sexual incompatibility is a death knell for a relationship, and it can be for sure, but it also might not be. Also, I definitely empathize with that we're too young for this feeling, and I felt it too. In retrospect, I wonder how much of that had to do with a tendency to measure myself by other people's yardstick, so to speak, which is certainly normal but also almost universally unhelpful. People have periods of, or can generally have, lower sex drive at any age. Just because we get the message that all people in their early 20s are sex machines from like every source doesn't mean we all have to be that way. And I kinda wish my 23-year-old self understood that, like my 30-year-old self does. Anyway, best of luck to you both. You speak about your partner like you are frustrated, but also deeply caring, loving, and considerate of his needs, while also being clear on your own, which is a solid foundation. You have different sex drives, and this is not something that can be fixed like most things can be. You need to have a discussion with him about what you both need out of a relationship and act accordingly, especially before talking about marriage in any way. I think that he should abstain from pornography and masturbation. You masturbate daily, but still want sex, so it's not a problem. He masturbates regularly and does not want sex as much as you do, so it is a problem. I like the top comments idea for having a day when you give him everything he wants, then he gives you everything you want. Some other people are saying that you are sexually incompatible, but that's only true if he can't meet you halfway here. If he loves you, he will try, so throw out some ideas and see if he goes for it. I would ask him, do you enjoy having sex? How does it make you feel? Your relationship sounds exactly the same as my first relationship. Loving, affectionate, safe, but lacking in sex and passion from the beginning. We also waited 6 months to be fully intimate. I empathize with the feeling of rejection in a culture where supposedly men want sex all the time. Untrue. Being consistently rejected really makes a woman question her self-worth. This being your first sexual relationship adds to the questioning. I remember thinking all the time whether I was unrealistic to expect more. Our frequency also dropped to once every month, 2 months. I started noting them down just to determine whether I was crazy. My ex also masturbated multiple times a week. Whenever I would raise this issue, he'd agree and we would have more sex, but it never sustained. To be honest, by the end I didn't want to have sex with him anymore either. Having had other relationships since, I now acknowledge we are not very fitting sexually. But in hindsight, we should have seen a sex therapist, since you don't want to give up. I recommend this. For me, sex isn't just about libido but a very carnal and intimate way of connecting with my partner. I needed to feel love. If you feel the same, I would urge you not to push this issue under the table just because everything else is good. Actively address it. Good luck! Your first problem with a relationship is measuring said relationship using decimal points. I'm really sorry you have to go through this. I know you said you tried to talk to him about this. Have you thought about couples therapy? I have a couple theories. All mental and all hard things to overcome. But so worth mentioning. Perhaps he has experienced sexual assault or molestation and hasn't told you or doesn't even realize it's affecting him. Sometimes it makes it hard for people who have experienced these things to have sex with other people for many reasons. Maybe he has self-esteem issues. This can also make it hard for people to have sex with others. Last one. Has he got a religious past or is he currently religious? Even if the religion seems normal and non-extreme, a lot of religious practices and teachings can make someone feel ashamed of sex, and you have to program yourself to realize it's okay to have sex, especially if it's premarital sex. It can take a long time to dig yourself out of all that shame.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.